Okay, sir. Hello, sir.
Hello, Dr. Manasi. Very good
Good
evening.
evening. Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining, sir. So, um, very welcome, Dr. Shreya Bandyopadhyay as well. Thank you so much. So, welcome everyone. This is Dr. Manasi Devnath. We are very much fortunate that we have this platform to organize the webinar on Blue Planet, Environmental Change, Vulnerability, and Geopolitics of Ocean on this auspicious day of uh, World Ocean Day. So, as we know that Earth has, we know it is a blue planet having more than 70% of its surface area by full of oceanic water, and we have the like and ocean plays a vital role in regulating the climate as well, and it functioned as the lungs of planet as a largest carbon sink. Sea level rise, driven by the climate change, become one of the most vulnerability reasons for the low-lying coastal area and community as well. Although this sea level dynamic is geological cyclical phenomena, but much more aggravated by the human-induced climate change, we can say maybe, and human intervention like marine oceanic water pollution, excess use of oceanic resources, etc., increases the degree of coastal region vulnerability in present day. So to address these pivotal issues, our eminent speakers will give a talk. Those will further create more opportunity for the scientific community to think more and will enhance the research capacity of this domain. I, Manasi Devnath, on behalf of IGI-YGF, take this opportunity to welcome our eminent speakers, Professor NIKI EVELPIDOU, Dr. RASIK Ravindra, and Dr. Malay PRAMANIK. We also welcome our guests, Professor Milakchand Sharma, Professor A.R. Siddiqui, and all of the audience. Our program is now also streaming in YouTube. The link is being posted in the chat box soon. With this, I start the program and hand it over the podium to Professor Milakchand Sharma, Professor of the Center of the Study of Regional Development, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, India, who also held the position of President of Indian Institute of Geomorphologists. Over to you, Professor N.C. Sharma.
Good afternoon, everybody, and a very special good afternoon to the guest speakers, Dr. Ravindran, Dr. Pidau, and Dr. Pramanik. You have been very kind to spare some time with our young geographers, geomorphologists. They are the young budding geomorphologists that we want to take over from the oldies. Professor SIDDIQUI is here, I'm here, so Professor Sunil is not there, so we are going to go out very soon. So we wanted to have young geomorphologists to contribute to the nation in research and studies, and therefore we keep organizing webinars, seminars also. Today we are fortunate that one of the largest issues that control the processes on the surface of the earth is being taken care by yourself. And unfortunately, we geographers have been talking about oceans, but we do not consider, as such, the relevance of oceans for initiating the processes on the surface of the earth. So thank you very much, sir, for agreeing to today's lectures. Thank you so very much. Over to Professor Siddiqui.
This is to a kind request to you all. Kindly mute yourself, your system. Thank you.
Professor Siddiqui, now please a few words on IGI, and then we start with the.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Am I audible, all of you? Okay.
Very
Perfect.
much, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, please go
Thank
ahead.
you. Thank you, Professor Milap Sharma ji, for your kind words. It is a great matter of proud that Young Gemologist Forum of India is celebrating the World Ocean Day under the banner of Indian Institute of Gemologists. As we know, Indian Institute of Gemologists was founded in 1987 by Professor Savinder Singh at its headquarters at University of Allahabad. And we all are feeling proud that this year we are celebrating the World Ocean Day in presence of very eminent and widely recognized scientists of India and abroad, Dr. RASIK Ravindra ji, Chairman Saga, FMR Director, National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, NCPOR. On the behalf of IGI, I welcome you, sir, from members of IGI. IGI is having more than 650 live member, and we are organizing everywhere a conference. In 2017, there was a conference in Vigyan Bhavan, New Delhi. There was a participation of 56 countries, and there were 526 foreign delegates. So everywhere we are organizing such type of activities. And this year, your presence is very gracious, and I welcome on the behalf of all the members of IGI. And we have another word well recognized academician, Professor NIKI, NIKI EVELPIDOU from National Competition University of Athens, Greece, and also Dr. Malay PRAMANIK, Assistant Professor, Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. The Indian Young Gemologist Forum is very active and making all the efforts to provide a platform for young researchers to enhance their methodological knowledge in the field of gemological researches, and they are doing well under the banner of Indian Institute of Gemologists. And every year they are organizing a training program, and YGF have organized 3 training programs and diffuse the knowledge through covering pertinent and relevant topic with perspective of current scenario. And they are organizing training program for young researchers covering topic like career in gemology. Earlier, they have organized 3 training program, particularly in Kolkata University. And before Corona, there was a program, and they have covered many pertinent topics related to research scholars, those who are working in the field of gemology, and covering topic like paleoclimate and fluid response and process gemology, geochronology, and process-based studies in glacial landscapes, and UAV-based mapping, and field experience in extreme weather events, use of remote sensing and GIS in gemology. And they have already completed 3 training programs till now and covered many other topics related to research scholars of gemology like quantitative techniques in gemology, writing good research paper and project. Recently, we have organized a training program on UAV technologies, image processing and mapping. And today we are celebrating the World Ocean Day. The theme of World Ocean Day is Planet Ocean Tides Are Changing, and I appreciate the effort of Dr. Mansi Devnath, and I think she is making all effort to provide base for young gemologists, those who are doing researches in Indian universities and abroad also. The theme of World Ocean Day is Planet Ocean Tides Are Changing, remembering first theme of the World Ocean Day, that is our ocean, our responsibilities. We are celebrating World Ocean Day on the topic Blue Planet, Climate Change, Vulnerability of Geopolitics of the Ocean, which is very pertinent in current scenario. All present at present world are facing many global threats like melting glaciers, loss of biodiversity, rise in temperature, sea level changes, decreasing sources of fresh water, cyclones, loss of islands, and changes in seasonal pattern of weather, and changes in ocean acidification, drought, desertification, and displacement of the population. These are the pertinent issues. So I appreciate the President and Vice President YGF for organizing this event, particularly to Dr. Mansi Devnath for organizing and designing this event. I am also highly obliged and thankful to Dr. RASIK Ravindra ji, who have given a very precious time to our platform and our organization. I am highly obliged you, sir, And I also I'm thankful to Professor Niki ji from University of Athens, and Dr. Malay PRAMANIK ji, for of course our President Professor MILAP Chand Sharma ji, who have given a valuable time to be a part of this program. Once again, I welcome on the behalf of IGI on this great day, on this great occasion. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me time to share my views. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for details giving on IGI and YGF as well as on the webinar as well. Now we are welcome to Professor NIKI EVELPIDOU. Is a professor at the Department of Geology and Environment, National and Kapodistrian University of Athens. Her research focuses on geomorphology, coastal geomorphology, sea level changes, paleogeography, the study and modeling of natural hazards, emphasizing the use of new technologies and innovation. Her research work includes more than 340 publications in conferences and scientific journals and 32 published books either in English or in Greek. She has organized more than 35 educational series of seminars. She is initiator of the concept of Women in Geomorphology, which started in 2020 and organized the first two events in the series. She is the initiator and creator of the postgraduate study program Geographical Information Systems, which is implemented under her supervision and guidance at AKPA. Professor EVELPIDOU has received several awards. Among them, prominent is the Academy of Athens, one for her work which promotes the geological knowledge of Greek region, and the second for the monography entitled Sea Level Changes. In 2022, she was nominated as elected member of the European Academy of Sciences and Arts. Now, I am leaving the podium to Professor NIKI. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you very much. Let me try to share my screen first.
Within this limit, we are again requesting all of you kindly mute your system to progress, easy progress for our webinar.
Okay, I think now you can see my screen. Is that right?
It's visual.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Can you verify that you can see my screen and you can hear me well?
Yeah.
Yes, Professor NIKI.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Many thanks to the Indian Institute of Geomorphologists and the Young Geomorphologists Forum for this honored invitation to be here today with you. My talk is dedicated to the future of a coastal zone and the role of the community of geomorphologists in that through adaptation and mitigation strategies. The coastal zone is a constantly changing area and is one of the most vulnerable places because of the climate crisis. In addition to this, we have high concentration of population in coastal areas, and there is also high activity in sectors such as tourism, trade, and many different kinds of works. And this makes the coastal zone, even more vulnerable. Increasing storms and sea level rise are likely to cause future flooding in coastal areas, bringing about significant changes in these ecosystems. The threats posed by coastal erosion are very significant, as more than 100 million people live within 1 meter of mean sea level, meaning that in the coming decades, they will have to deal with issues of immigration, finance, social, and environmental issues. The coastal squeeze of the global population during the last century into the urbanized coastal megacities is happening right now. You can see in this table in the left of my slide what was happening in 1950, where we had only 2 urbanized coastal megacities, while today the number has soared to 16. We could discuss for long about the future of coasts worldwide regarding coastal erosion. I will only remind you some numbers extracted from a research of Vouzoukas and his colleagues, which is published in Nature. Based on that, you can see also in the table in the left part of my slide, the world's sandy, about 15% of the world's sandy beaches will face severe erosion in the next few years, and this number is rising to almost 50% by the end of the century. A total 30% of the world's sandy beaches are in low elevation coastal zones, with population density exceeding 500 people per square kilometer, and the projections show that about 1/3 of these low elevation coastal zones will be seriously threatened by erosion in the next 20 years. This estimate reaches 50 or 60% by the end of the century, depending which climatic scenario we will choose. The reasons for this evolution, some of them natural and other man-made, are many, and some of them are not obvious to many stakeholders. In this picture you may see here, maybe you started thinking why I have put such a picture here while we are discussing on coastal zone, but it is an example of an area I visited in last September with a group of geomorphologists from Europe. The local community of this area, which is one of the most affected areas during the devastated fires that took place in 2021, they feel very proud with this dam you can see here. And they built this dam in order to protect the downstream area from soil erosion and from flash floods. The question is, what will happen in the next years to the coastline that used to receive sediment from this drainage basin? What's our role in all this? How the community of geomorphologists could help? What we are doing in my team is research regarding the coastal vulnerability. It is good to know in advance. It is good to foresee, taking into account all necessary parameters, taking into account actions that affect directly or indirectly. For example, we run a coastal vulnerability index or models. Can you hear me?
Yes, please continue.
Okay. Or models, Boolean-based, fuzzy-based, models where we may use analytic hierarchy process, artificial intelligence, in order to model the vulnerability of our coasts in a local, national, European, or even in a global scale. We even develop a WebGIS, and we can see the changes in the output of the model each time a change is taking place. So it's a real-time information system. We also study diachronic shoreline changes, and we have a clear idea of the trend that the shoreline is retreating. And here you may see examples of what we are doing in a more detailed studies with a seasonal evolution of beach profile. And in a more local scale, you may see here where we take into account even the granulometry or the micromorphology of the underwater or coastal, the beach morphology. And we have followed similar methods and techniques in different places, in different areas, for example, in Mediterranean, in Japan, in Africa, in USA. But still, how can we help? How the geomorphological community can pass this knowledge to actions? In a local scale, I have seen many examples of wrong decisions that lead to coastal zone loss. And this made me wondering if community understands, if they know the results of their actions. Here you may see some results from a survey that my team has performed regarding the view of the Greek citizens on coastal erosion. In the map, you can see the distribution of participants in this survey, and more than 2,000 people have answered this questionnaire. Here you can see some basic information for the participants, and I will stop at this part with the education level. All of the participants have at least a high school degree, many of them after high school education, many of them, more than 50%, they have a bachelor, a 30% master, PhD, and so on. I will not go through this survey. I would only wish to make clear that there is, as you can see from this graph, a 35% of educated people in a country with 15,000 kilometers of coastline who does not know anything about coastal erosion. They probably think that coastline is stable. It will always be there, no matter what they are doing. So, in my opinion, one of the things that as a geomorphological community should do is to communicate our knowledge and our experience to people, to the community. This is something we also try to do in my team. But still, our costs are retreating. This problem will be more and more serious in the forthcoming years, and our cultural heritage is under erosion, and this is very serious. Then we have to bring our geomorphological background in order to protect our coasts, to protect them now. It's important to do things for the future, but also we have to deal with what is happening now. For most of the last century, building large structures of timber, concrete, or rock was considered the best way to deal with coastal erosion. This hard engineering approach to coastal protection resulted in the creation of hard constructions on large sections of coastline, as it happens in the whole world, from Mediterranean to Japan, to Europe, to Africa. There are many different techniques, like this one along the coastal zone of Mediterranean. You may see here some photos and I am sure that they look familiar to you because I'm sure that you have met something like this in many places. Seawalls are also used for coping and adaptation. I have taken this photo from Alexandria, Egypt, and many similar examples are existing elsewhere. And this type of adaptation is also used frequently in Mediterranean, in Italy, and also in my country, in Greece. But there are sites that, although they are vulnerable, they do not face coastal erosion. The same is happening in this area, which frequently receives a lot of wave activity. And in this area, with again sandy beach and sand dunes and lagoon beside, and in this case, it is even more vulnerable because the lagoon is lower than the current sea level. And the same in this site. So what is the common in these different sites? The answer is the submerged beach rocks. Geomorphologists, we know very well that beach rocks protect the coastal zone, and we have examples that when people remove beach rocks in order to offer to visitors a sandy passage to the sea, in less than 10 years, they lost the beach. Humans talk about mitigation and adaptation when nature itself shows us the way to sustainable adaptation. This protective mechanism you can see here is there for about 5,000 years protecting the coastline. We know that because we have dated this formation. You can notice in this picture that we have more than one series of beach rocks, and each of the series corresponds to a different period of a beach, of ancient beach. So it became clear to my mind that nature has shown the way, and beach rocks could be the idea to protect our beaches. I have chosen to show you this picture depicting a beach rock which is submerged at 3 meters below the current sea level. The waters are so crystal clear that you can see it like that. Have a look how destroyed it is. This has happened because much of the wave energy crashes on this formation and at the end arrives with a reduced energy to the coastline. There are many theories of beach rock formation. Four of them are dominant, and one of them is about biological activity. Bacteria and algae may contribute to sediment consolidation. And this is the one method that we used. We mimetize what nature is doing in order to construct artificial beach rocks. And in order to do that, we collect local material and local water, local sediment and seawater for further analysis in the lab for bacteria analysis and identification. Here you can see that the sediment is used in the lab in order to define the granulometry and define the experimental parameters. And after 14 days of nutrient treatment with a solution of artificial seawater, we have an artificial beach rock, as you can see here. Following, we studied the artificial beach rocks under optical polarized microscopy and SEM-EDS in order to observe the crystal growth and to identify its chemical composition, which is the interesting thing is that it is very similar to the natural counterparts. And also, we checked the mechanical characteristics, which also seem similar. So, artificial beach rocks could be a green method to mitigate coastal erosion. This is something that we as a geomorphologist could bring in the community green practices in order to mimetize what nature is doing, because as geomorphologists we understand very well the processes that are taking place. I do believe that the geomorphological community could help in strategies for adaptation and mitigation of coastal erosion, helping at the same time the environment to be as natural as possible. And I am finishing my talk with this slide, which gave me, because this area gave me the idea of protecting our coasts following what nature does, because by this way we also keep the beauty of the nature. I would like to thank you once again, and especially Manasi for contacting me. I'm sorry I'm not saying the whole name, but it is very difficult for me to pronounce it. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here today. And since my team is working in many different places around the globe, I would be really happy to collaborate with the Indian community of geomorphologists in coastal issues. And at this point, I would kindly ask you to forgive me that I will not stay at the whole event, but we have right now, in a half an hour from now, an event running in Greece, which I organized this, about virtual field trips in geomorphology. I will add in the chat the link and the agenda, and because it will take longer than this meeting. So if some of you would like, after the end of this meeting, to join, please join us. I will be glad to see you there. And I will be glad to discuss with all of you for virtual field trips in geomorphology from your own country, from the areas that you are exploring, you are researching. Thank you once again for inviting me.
Thank you, Professor Nikki, for delivering very highly valuable lecture and giving valuable information to our student and researcher. On the behalf of IGI, thank you once again. Thank you, Emma. Dr. Mansi, please proceed.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Nikki. It was wonderful speech, very informative as well. So we can have very limited question and answer from audience if you have.
Mr. Kaushik Chaudhary raise a hand. Yes, speak.
Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just want to know that artificial stone that prepared in the lab. So if we like for poster production for 1 kilometer post, how much cost will be? It will be any approximation cost? So did you measure any approximation cost if we like 1 kilometer post we can protect from this artificial stone? And
I'm not really sure if I've understood exactly the question. If the question is how long should how long this artificial beach rock should be, this is the question.
No. What is the cost, investment cost for 1 kilometer
Putting together.
price of it? 1 kilometer post or any approximation 2 kilometers?
The distance from the coastline.
Yeah.
So how much monetary?
Okay. The
cost is
distance.
Monetary valuation in
Monetary amount.
investment will be.
I am afraid that more than one microphone is turned on, and I have difficulties to understand. So if the question is how far away should be
No.
the artificial... No, okay.
It is investment cost. Investment cost for post-plant protection.
Can you please write down your question and
Yeah.
then I will answer?
Please,
Yeah,
Kaushik.
it's better.
Please,
Yeah,
Mr. Kaushik, can you please write down in the chat box so that we will forward this to Professor Nikki.
Either you can
Anybody
mail
else?
and later she will provide answer, and through Mansi you can mail also.
SK Salman is about to say something. Are you trying to ask any question? Although you are not audible. Just
Navanita
okay,
Sharkar raised a question.
okay.
Yes, Navanita, please ask.
Hello, Professor Nikki. Thank you so much for an interesting presentation. I'm little curious about the procedure that you followed in the lab while constructing the material which you were talking about in an artificial way. And also my second question is regarding the longevity, like how long it can be retained in this case. Thank you very much.
Okay, very nice questions, both of them. First of all, in the lab, what we are doing, we are analyze the bacteria and we select the most active bacteria of the area, and then we feed this bacteria in order to multiply. We don't bring anything new to the coastline, so for each case study, we use the in situ material of the area, and the bacteria already exist in the specific area. And after we stop feeding them, they return back to the normal population. So this is what we are doing in the lab. And about the duration that they may stay, the artificial beach rocks, because this is why we made the test of mechanical test of the beach rocks and the test of the artificial beach rocks and test regarding the cement, and they're very similar to the natural beach rocks. So we believe that they may remain to the site as long as natural beach rocks stay there. And we know for natural beach rocks that without any maintenance, they may remain for thousands of years. So this is my answer to this.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we think we should restrict the questions for now. If we have any, we will
There
share
is
with
there is one question in the chat, the one that I couldn't hear before. It's about the cost, how much it costs for 1 kilometer of coast if we use artificial beach rock. Okay. It's very difficult to answer this question. Thank you anyway for raising this, because every case is different. There are many different parameters taking place. For example, for every different beach, it's the distance from the coast that you have to build the artificial beach rock is different, and this distance make a big difference also to the cost. And also it plays a role the granulometry of the site that we may that we have. And as I mentioned before, we don't use foreign material. We use the material of the site in order to avoid bringing something new in the area. And depending on the granulometry of the material, we need a different quantity of how to say, of the material that we will feed the bacteria, and for artificial seawater and so on. So these parameters are changing a lot the cost from place to place.
Thank you, Professor Nikki. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Hopefully,
You're very welcome.
Thank you for the answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yes. If we have any questions, so Professor Nikki, hopefully our audience has cleared everything, has like do not have any more questions, and it is very much interesting your talk. Really, we enjoyed a lot, and hopefully we will have opportunity to listen you again in future. It is a wonderful and to listen you for us. It is very much good opportunity, Professor Nikki. So thank you so much. We will go ahead and we will give the podium to Dr. Rasik Ravindra. Uh, Dr. Rasik Ravindra is the current chairman of Society of Art Scientists of India and SAGA and member of the Research Advisory Committee of World Institute of Himalayan Geology and NCPOR Goa. He held the position of director of NCPOR during 2006 to 12 after relinquishing the post of Deputy Director General in GSI, an organization that he served from 1971 to 2005. A veteran Antarctican, he holds PhD in polar and periglacial geomorphology and has participated in several expeditions to three polar regions. He led the ninth Indian expedition to Antarctica and the first Indian Arctic expedition. He was chairman of the PMC on dynamics of Himalayan glaciers from 2007 to 2012 and was appointed chair Panikkar Professor in October 2012 by Ministry of Earth Sciences. He has served as an elected member of the UN Commission on Limits of Continental Shelf for 2014 to 17 term. He has received coveted medal for international coordination from Scientific Committee on Antarctic Research, National Award for Polar Sciences and Cryosphere 2013, National Mineral Award 1990, among several others. Thank you so much for informative. That means thank you so much for accepted our that means our invitation. And now podium to you all, Dr. Rasik Ravindra.
Thank you, Mansi. Can you give me the permission to share my
Sure, sir. It is already you can share from your side. Is there option, sir? Present now?
मानसी जी आवाज नहीं आ रही है किसी का
Just for a minute, we are very sorry. We may have lost the connection from Rasik Ravinder sir. We will just get back to him. We are trying to make connect to him.
सर शेयर कर रहे हैं.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We
sir.
can hear you.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, but my screen is not getting.
The screen is not visible, sir.
Yeah. I'm going to say present now, and it shows me your screen, entire screen, window, and a tab. Where do I go? I go to the window.
Sir, you can go to your, if you are presenting in presentation mode, then you can also go to tab. If you are going to tab, then you have to click on that presentation.
Okay, I go to the tab.
Okay. Then go to presentation, you have to click on that.
Yeah, but it doesn't show any presentation here. Can I forward the presentation to you and you can run it?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
I think then it will take a time. You can take the next speaker, and in the meantime, I'll forward my presentation to you, right?
Sure, sir.
Take the next speaker.
Okay.
Let's save the time. Okay.
So, Dr. Malay Pramanik, if you are here, so we would like to listen to you now, as Dr. RASIK Ravindra will take a little bit time to share. We are having some problem. So,
Okay,
we
am I
are.
audible?
Yes, you are very much audible. Now I am leaving this podium to Dr. Shumantra, and Dr. Shumantra is Vice President of IGI-YGF. Now he is going to give introduction to the speaker. Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening, all of you. I am Dr. Sumantra Shahade Vishwas. I am introduced our next speaker, Dr. Malay Pramanik. Dr. Malay Pramanik is an assistant professor at the Urban Innovation and Sustainability in the School of Environment, Resources and Development in Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. He holds his PhD and MPhil from Jawaharlal Nehru University. He has received some prestigious awards, likewise the Charlie Bowden Award, Best Presentation Award from Elsevier, Early Career Scientist from European Geophysical Union, and IUBMB Travel Award for MWS, Our Planet and Our Health Initiative Travel Award from Wellcome Trust, and WOHC 2020 Fellowship Award from World One Health Congress, and he was the postdoc fellow of this same institution, and thereafter he was an assistant professor in the Tata Institute of Social Science, Mumbai, and his research area is on the integrated geospatial solution, environmental management, urban sustainability and innovation, and climate change. So we have the very opportunity to have a speaker like Dr. Malay Pramanik, and over to you, Dr. Malay Pramanik, and we are eagerly waiting for your lecture.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Shumantra and Dr. Manasi Devnath. I think you already introduced me very well. Even also, I can recall my student life in GNU. We started some stories on research, and then we completed our degrees, and we then started in different journeys. Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for inviting such a impressing and also very well established organization to have World Ocean Day celebration. And also maybe NIKI also presented and also provided some similar, and also I can say very inline information, which I'll be continuing to from some basic research to getting policy orientation, and then how young geomorphologists can get some motivation through some research. So can I share my screen if allow?
Yeah, obviously you can share.
Okay, I think now it's visible.
Yeah, it is going to be visible. Yeah, it is visible.
Okay, but I can't see screen. I can see.
Uh, try to share the window rather than whole screen. Yeah, it is now visible.
Okay, maybe I can do bigger screen. But still not coming in screen, right?
This is all
Is
right.
it coming?
Yeah, we can see, yes.
Okay. Okay, I can't see anyone's faces. So I can see a lot of young geomorphologists are there, and also a lot of our very eminent professors from JNU. And also I have seen a lot of professors in India who appreciated some of my presentation earlier in some good organizations. So let me discuss some of the recent research studies of my throughout my PhD journey, and after that, and also my recent motivations. And then whenever I came to JNU, then I started to think some more innovations. How can I integrate into innovation and such kind of planning resilience? So definitely I'm urban now. Definitely I can say I started my background in environment management, but then I shifted based on project relevance, and then based on funder, based on societal benefits. I thought my research can be motivated in different directions. So definitely I'm working for urban innovation sustainability, but urban in some emerging topic, how cities are maybe we can say cities are maybe in trade, or maybe we can say definitely coastal urbanizations are higher, and they are facing a lot of emerging issues, as well as there are lack of resilience, lack of coordinations, and also lack of awareness. So that's why to integrate all those kind of things, so I thought maybe how we can integrate all those into the planning and resilience. So that's why maybe I'll be giving all those thoughts. So when I started that research, whenever we did some paper on IPCC, we can see, oh, a lot of sea level rise concerns, and also many from IPCC to from NASA to many well-known organizations, they are also predicting that sea level rise. And we started definitely research on sea level rise and how coastal cities are getting vulnerable and risk. But still, whenever we have done some studies on eastern coast in India, we have seen there are a lot of definitely low-lying lands which can be more threatened to the cities. And then definitely we have done some of the analysis, but after that, whenever we move to western coast, I have seen that coastal Mumbai, we started that thought in 2016, where a lot of IPCC concerns, and then NASA reports also saying that coastal megacities like Mumbai will be coming under catastrophe, and there will be means from people concerned, maybe from policy concerns, there need some kind of preparation related to defense against flooding, against sea level rise, as well as storm surges or torrential rains. So that's why we started, and then how we can minimize such kind of risk, we started our research. So maybe I started this research on how such kind of urban lands getting vulnerable or under risk to sea level rise. We tried from our initial learning how different kind of land use, land cover to infrastructure will be getting after getting some basic information related to sea level rise. We found that definitely in western coast, Mumbai, Kochi, and some other cities also getting some of the lands also getting in danger. But people and developers and also a lot of investors also investing their money without knowing all those informations. So I think many of participants are from also southern India. I think they know Mumbai's history and how Mumbai developed from different fragmented islands, and then a mega city and continuous urbanizations. So due to that motivation, I started to understand how different kind of infrastructure and land use and cover changes getting vulnerable or risk due to sea level rise, we started and evaluated such kind of things. And also we understand that sea level rise actually increasing due to definitely sea level definitely, but also increasing due to drainage gradients, which definitely in different seasons promoting flooding conditions to rainstorms, and also subsequently which also increasing different kind of saltwater intrusion to local livelihood, whoever collecting their livelihood in different kind of forest dependent, or maybe mangrove dependent, or maybe fishing communities. And then we try to understand what kind of area which is under flooding, and also how such kind of investment can be maybe better informed for policy planning. And then we try to understand what are those areas where we can find out those kind of proper informed identification. And we found that near shore settlements and all infrastructure development and recent economic engagement, particularly all the developmental activities which is related to port, related to fishing, related to other agricultural, definitely they are affecting severally. And we found not only near shore flooding areas, we also identify some of the urban areas where can be developmental activities can be not promoted, and also can be better without knowing all the information, that developmental activities can be maybe minimized, or maybe less efforts can be done. So after that, some of the local newspaper and as well as some of the national newspaper also cited those outcomes. And then after knowing all those information, I also started again involved to understand other stories, how such kind of landform and a different kind of land use land cover changes and their vulnerability can be better informed to the coastal infrastructure planning, which is a bigger investment by the investor as well as different kind of government developmental activities. So here we can see general outputs, different kind of land use land cover, how they are making vulnerable to get better infrastructure informed planning, to understand what are those area and what are those infrastructure, and how such investment can be better planning and coordination through informed planning. And then we understand that those kind of landform and their vulnerability and their changing characteristics, also changing due to coastal inundation characteristics. And not only those characteristics, and their characteristics also changing different kind of huge developmental activities, as well as definitely population pressure also making several changes in those coastal areas. And then definitely after that research, I found that population pressure and huge developmental activities. So there are globally concerned many theories and many different kind of models and many different kind of methods also developed by IPCC, UN's other organizations. So I tried to evaluate are those kind of methodologies and those kind of evaluation is really helpful to understand coastal vulnerability in Mumbai, or there is some other reason which can be the better, maybe better we can understand their causes. So I try to understand all physical dimensions, and then try to understand all geological dimensions with creating smaller pixel along the coast. And then we try to collect some economic activities with proper field investigations, and then we try to iterate, try to develop some models where we can I try to iterate it based on physical, then physical and geological, and physical, geological and socioeconomic, then socioeconomic, geological, with informing different kind of permutation. We try to run all those models and to understand what is the cause behind those kind of risk and their infrastructure development threats. And then we found that definitely there are many statistical evaluations, but we understand that human impact induced indicator, which is definitely causing to local threats, and also which also changing some parameters through definitely this is not micro investigations. Still I am continuing to investigate to understand proper area and proper particular area to better inform infrastructure planning as well as different kind of other huge investment. So, and then based on some other analysis, we understand that this increasing trend definitely coming through socioeconomic indicators, whereas geological variables and their influencing parameters, definitely we can minimize our efforts to focus on how such vulnerable spot can be identified. And then we also focused some of the unsustainable urbanization areas. We also identified some unplanned development activities, coastal erosion, which promoting coastal flooding. And then we also participated in some policy planning and also climate change action plan in Mumbai through some local people and connections and also some other stakeholders. And then also this work also appreciated by many new local newspaper and also they also trying to get some other more outputs. They are continuously getting updated that how I'm involving in such research to mitigate those kind of problems. And then whenever I was at peace, I tried to get some of the local information and local maybe I can say some of the geographic coordinates with actual considerations and investment scenarios as well as different kind of infrastructure which can be run in coming years. And also I can see a lot of developmental and lot of environmental concerns. I think these are history. We can see reclamation and degradation of mangroves and lot of island creeks, their remodifications, and also there are many other changes. So then I try to understand how such kind of coastal infrastructure resilience planning can be. So I just continuing to understand what are those areas where we can take some kind of protection, or maybe protection definitely can be soft and hard. And also we can understand what are those land where we can identify as a retreat, or we can identify as a, maybe you can say we can accommodate them through different kind of green and blue infrastructure planning. So maybe we can follow some global good evidence which can be replicated to Mumbai, and what kind of protection plan can be better to making such urban resilience for Mumbai. Not only Mumbai, even also in Southeast Asia, Southeast Asian countries, there are many cities. IPCC marked only 10 cities, but definitely there will be some other cities which can be after 1 decade or maybe 2 decades, there will be other cities also will be coming in that report. But still we have to inform planning, because other than knowing what are those area and what should be the proper plan, all investor and maybe all national investment also getting will be getting definitely lost of money otherwise. So that's why how can we do those kind of plans to inform that kind of maybe I can say resilience planning for all those coastal infrastructure. We are doing some other project related to costing adaptation for only Cambodia definitely, but I'm particularly without any funding focusing on all the coastal areas, and also to understand all infrastructure, to all road development, to all other oceanic development areas where we can focus to understand better informed planning and infrastructure development plans. So that's why I'm trying still now trying to develop. There are many plans, many classical approaches from global cities, like in coastal areas, if they are vulnerable, how we can that water level during flood, how can we minimize through different kind of nature-based solution, or maybe we can say different kind of adaptation planning. So there are global examples available. I just trying to gather all those evidence, how I can replicate those kind of global executable evidence to Mumbai. So there are good evidence like buffer strip we can create in coastal area to minimize that flood level, to make them resilience. Not only infrastructure, definitely communities also will be coming. And then definitely there are good examples also available. Rainwater intake channel we can create to minimize that water level. there are some evidence also clean infiltration water wells where we can develop those wells to drain some of the water through some kind of engineering plans to other areas where actually need some kind of maybe what are those area where they're facing water security related issues. And then also we can refine structural soil, we can create wetlands, we can create different kind of purification challenges. I think such kind of global evidence maybe later on I can discuss with having sufficient research and development on those. There are many other infrastructure plans also, maybe how such kind of plan can be accessible. Maybe we can do some piloting, and then we can solve we can solve real problem, and then we can maybe demonstrate to other areas, or maybe we can scale up it to other areas. How can such method and techniques can be applicable? Not only coastal areas, even also some other cities who are facing many issues can be some other infrastructure also can be useful. So I'm not going to tell a lot of stories. I know there are a lot of young geomorphologists, and I know I'm also started my career in geography. But whenever I moved to Bangkok, I started to think, how can I, whatever I'm doing research, how can I apply this kind of research in innovation? So on those things, there are many global evidence how geomorphological entrepreneur also can be read out. So here we can see some global example. Their team member, Petrol Finkel, and their co-founders, they have tried to redesign texture design and concrete for coastal infrastructure. How can I think all geomorphologists can think such kind of infrastructure and such kind of contains such kind of concrete, maybe a biological, with incorporating biological composition also. How can we design some kind of innovative infrastructure to promote or maybe provide better solution without spending a lot of money? Maybe we can get very highly appreciable solutions. And then there are a few other innovations also. I think just for motivations, definitely it's needed funding for doing pilot demonstrations. But still, I think sonic wave, like real-time artificial intelligence, or maybe UAV or drones, or maybe citizen science by doing human hybrid artificial intelligence by citizen science, we can develop a lot of geomorphological innovations. So maybe those kind of innovations is example, but still we are also doing in some other real, maybe real life problem solutions. I also try and develop some kind of tools to provide real-time air pollution monitoring. This innovation called AIT Smart Air, which can be incorporated through artificial intelligence, and also definitely by incorporating Internet of Things. And then definitely sensor. There are many other examples. Greenstream, this is one good example. In USA, they are currently deploying all over USA to understand definitely real-time flood state. And also they are trying not only for coastal area, they are trying for river, creeks, and flood-prone roadways. And those kind of sensors are not much, or maybe sonic waves not much costly. We can connect all those data set by sensor, and we can capture in our monitoring by doing 5G connections, and we can understand real time problem, or maybe we can say real time any other biological concerns also by Miranda robotics. And then I can say some of the IC change, which also trying to understand by human hybrid artificial intelligence how people information to crowdsource, and then artificial intelligence information. I think all of you might be know that in London, there is a website. Every people can provide all the information to the website where people and how they are suffering for all their concerns. So we can develop such kind of platform where people can provide actual information. So if we got actual information, then we can definitely inform better planning. So these are only for motivational. Maybe all those innovation, maybe all young geomorphologists can think how such geomorphological innovation can be helpful and can generate some fund by their innovation, by involving with government, by involving with private entrepreneurs to generate fund. And definitely if we generate fund, definitely we can provide a lot of fellowship. Maybe young geomorphologist mobility also will be improving. Such kind of maybe I thought student can engage more, then such kind of community and their engagement should be more fruitful and useful. Okay, thank you so much and for giving me that extraordinary platform. Maybe we can continue some other presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Malay. Thank you very much for your nice information. You have given very precious and valuable information to our student and research scholar. Thank you very much. On the behalf of IGI, I am thankful to you for giving your valuable time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Malay, for your wonderful lecture. And you have presented such a wonderful things such as coastal vulnerability, specifically on the western coast of India. And the lecture is now open for discussion. If you have any query, please raise your hand, or you can text your query in chat box also. Yeah, Tawfiq, have you any question?
Okay, I think Tawfiq saying something, but we can't hear him.
Yeah. Tawfiq, have you?
Tawfiq, if you are traveling, maybe you can send us by chat box.
Chat box.
We can respond there as well. Or maybe after having next presenter, we can
After having next presenter.
Topic you can type or you can mail to Dr. Mansi Devnath. Later, Dr. Malay will respond to you.
Or give your query into the chat box also.
Okay, no question.
Okay.
Dr. Sumantra, please proceed.
Yeah.
Dr.
Okay, if you any query, so let put it on text box, chat box. Probably Kaushik Chaudhary has raised a question.
Okay.
What is
I
your
just
question,
want to
Kaushik?
know that this infrastructure planning, how much space is required to this investment planning, like in infrastructure planning?
Okay. How much cost, or you are saying how much land?
Space area.
Okay, area, it's depend on definitely with proper planning with limited land, we can do better planning. Okay, so it's depend on how much land available, then how much based on that we can provide solution.
Okay, because I think that most of the global south cities are basically compact, so there is always a lack of space for green infrastructure or whatever you say, blue infrastructure or nature-based solution.
Yeah, actually, yeah, this is very good questions. Western countries and also maybe we can say some of the global north, they have sufficient amount to invest. I think this is not for them nature-based solution to consider. We can consider for our country or maybe in our southeast or South Asian country where we have very limited funding, how such kind of opportunity can be explored. I think definitely they have different planning. So based on their concerns, their fund, they can design and they can think better innovative solutions.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kaushik.
Okay, if there are any no question, then we can proceed to our next speaker. Or if anyone has a query, then put it in chat box also. So we are welcoming our next speaker, Professor RASIK Ravindra. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Bishwas, and thank you, Mansi, for a very liberal introduction. I really enjoyed the talk by Professor NIKI and Dr. Malay. It was very interesting to know about the vulnerability of the coastline. Thank you. My talk will be slightly different, because I'm going to touch upon the legal aspects of the law of the sea and the role of the geomorphologist that they can play in this very, very strategic part where most of the countries, especially the coastal countries, stand to gain a lot if the geomorphologists can put up their mind and interpret the geological structures in a way that the coastal countries can benefit. So I know that the geologists or the geomorphologists generally do not like to go into the legal aspects, but here is a platform provided by the United Nations which gives plenty of scope to the geomorphologist to give some benefit to the country. So that's why I thought I'll take up this aspect of the law of the sea to sort of make young geomorphologists interested in this aspect, which is generally not very popular among most of the geomorphologists. So Mansi, can I have my presentation, please? Mansi, I forwarded my presentation to you. Can you please play it?
Mansi, please unmute.
Mansi, here. Are you here? Yeah.
Yes, now it is visible.
Presenting.
Yeah. Go to the full mode and yeah. Can you go to the presentation mode?
Yes.
Well, thank you, Professor SIDDIQUI and Professor MILAP Sharma for giving me this opportunity to address to the young geomorphologist. As I said, I have selected this topic of the law of the sea because most of the coastal countries in the world, they stand to gain a lot if the geomorphology of the continental shelf is understood in a better way, and the countries can justify that the prolongation of the land goes into the subsoils, into the sub-sea, so that people of that country can claim additional area to their sovereignty. Next one. Next slide, please. There's a general disclaimer that all the previous members or the present members of the CLCS, that is the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf, have to say a disclaimer. So that's why I have put a disclaimer that this presentation is my own view and the Commission of the United Nations has nothing to do with it. Next, please. Next slide, please.
Mansi, please. Next slide.
You have network issue, Mansi?
Mansi, is there any problem? Mansi?
Mansi, are you there? Okay.
I can try to go to my own laptop if somebody can guide me.
Okay, sir. I have the slides also. I can share it.
So please go ahead then. Please go ahead and come to the third slide.
Is it visible?
It's coming. Yes.
Coming, yeah.
Mansi is in Nagaland. So
Yeah, there maybe it's already late evening there, so we can understand.
Yeah.
This is the third slide, probably, sir.
Nothing is visible on the screen.
Nothing else.
Okay. So is it visible right now?
No. I think we have to close and come back to the sharing again once again.
Yeah.
Now it is visible.
Yeah, now it's visible. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I have divided my talk into 5 segments. We'll just have small background information on this, the law of the sea. How did the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea got into being? Then what is the EEZ, the exclusive economic zone of a country, and what are the rights of the coastal states? And then the legal and the scientific definition of the continental shelf, it differs a lot. So we'll try to just see what are the differences. And then what are the claims beyond EEZ that a coastal country can claim? Then there are certain slides on the ocean resources, and then we'll have interaction. Next, please. Yeah, UNCLOS is an acronym, and it stands for the United Nations Law of the Sea. And you know, this is the most comprehensive treaty that was created way back in 1982, and it creates a regime for governance of the world oceans and defines the right of the nations regarding the law of the sea. The treaty came into being after one of the longest negotiations, and which continued for more than 30 years. It's again one of the very long document, very heavy document. It contains 320 articles, 9 annexures, and run into more than 300 pages. Some of the segments that it deals with are the navigational rights of the countries, the economic rights of the coastal states, the right of the landlocked nations. There are certain nations which do not have their coastal lines, like Nepal or Bhutan. So they also have some rights. The sea piracy, the pollution of the sea, the conservation of the marine life, scientific exploration for the mineral resources, and the dispute resolution, because if there are disputes within some of the neighbors who share the coastline, then UNCLOS is a platform where these disputes can be resolved. Next. A slight background, you know, way back in 17th century, the fight for the coastal areas was very prominent, and it all depends upon the might of the nation. If you are very strong, your fleet is very strong, you have several trawlers, boats and ships, then you can claim as much area as you want, because other nations will not dare to come close to you. But that was not the proper rules. So sometimes back, you know, in the 18th century or so, there was a very common and a frequent law which was called as cannon shot rule. So if you stand at the border of your, or the coastline of your country, and you fire a cannon, so as far as your cannon ball can go, that would be defined as your sovereign right of that area. That means you can claim right over that area up to which the cannon ball will fall, which was generally about 3 nautical miles, and each nautical mile is, you know, 1.8 kilometers. So that would be 5.5 kilometers or so. So this cannonball rule, you know, it extended for about 100 years, but then it was not a scientific basis. So it was decided that, well, we should have some sort of a law governing these rights of the nations about the coastal areas. Next. You know, as the time progressed and as the science developed, there were a lot of new areas like biological and the mineral resources. Nations began expanding their claims of sovereignty beyond the 3 nautical miles, because those who had the means and who had the technology, they wanted much more areas associated with their coast to go ahead. Way back in 1945, the United States President Truman, he proclaimed by a law which is now called as Truman Proclamation. And that defined the initial stages of the law of the sea. It had 4 segments. The one was on the outer continental shelf. That means how much area you can claim in the continental shelf. The resources therein, that means all the resources which are present in the continental shelf. The right to establish conservation zones within that area of the continental shelf. And it also gave rights to free navigation to the people or to the states who wanted to go through that area, which is called as right of free movement. Next. So after this proclamation, many countries started having their own proclamation, their own laws, their own treaties, and they've started passing the resolutions which defined variation in their own laws about the area which they can claim as their own area beyond their own coastlines. For example, in 1950, Argentina was actively claiming the continental shelf as well as the water column which was above it. Other countries like Ecuador, Chile, and Peru, they asserted rights over a 200-mile zone to protect its basically fisheries. And soon other countries like Arab and Eastern European nations were also laying a claim on the territorial sea, the contiguous sea, and all that. If you know, the sea area right from your coastal border up to the deep sea is divided into several segments. I'll go into those details, and then you will know that how many segments of a sea are there and up to which segment a nation can lay its own claim. Next one, please. This variation in the laws, variation in the claims of different countries on the coastal areas and on the sea attached to its coastal areas, it gave rise to the first convention on the United Nations Law of the Sea. And it was as back as in 1858. And it made significant beginning in the legal regime governing the oceans, and 4 major conventions were arranged. And I'll go into those 4 major conventions, and you'll see that these conventions are more or less still being followed. The first one was the Convention on the Territorial and the Contiguous Zone. I'll come into the detail. What are these areas which are defined as the Convention of the Territorial Areas and the Contiguous Zone. Then Convention of the High Seas, which was established to have the access for landlocked nations, outlawed the transport of slaves, because during those days movement of slaves were very common, covered piracy, established the safety and rescue protocols, and the national duty to prevent pollution, and the rights to laying of undersea cables and pipelines and things like that. Next, there are 2 more conventions. The third convention was the Convention on Fishing and Conservation of the Living Resources of the High Seas, and this established the right of the coastal nations to protect the living ocean resources, mostly fisheries, and to establish conservation measures, and also to establish the measures for dispute resolution. And then the last one was the Convention on the Continental Shelf, which established the regime governing the superjacent water and the airspace above the shelf, and laying and maintenance of the submarine cables, pipelines, regime governing the navigation, fishing, scientific research, and things like that. Next. But most of the disputes were not resolved, so the United Nations had to convene another meeting in 1960, and this was called as UNCLOS 2, and to resolve those issues. While the conference decided and deliberated for a long period, about a month, but mostly the dispute resolutions were not resolved, so the United Nations had to call for a third conference, and which was very fruitful, and it was called as UNCLOS 3. Finally, it was agreed in 1982, but it was called in 1973. Can we go to the next one? Yes, this UNCLOS 3 is the most prominent convention which is being followed as of now, and this was initiated in 1973 by the United Nations General Assembly. They constituted a committee on the peaceful uses of the seabed and the ocean floor beyond the limits of the national jurisdiction. By this time, the national jurisdiction was defined. That means any country which has a coast can claim its national jurisdiction over an area of 200 nautical miles beyond its coastline, beyond its border. So that area of 200 nautical miles came to be known as EEZ, or Exclusive Economic Zone of that particular country. But beyond that, how the area should be governed, the third law of the sea meeting was basically to deliberate on that. The deliberation lasted for 9 years. It was a huge time, and it saw the participation of 160 countries. It concluded in 1982, and it came to be known as the UNCLOS 3 or the UNCLOS 1982. Currently, there are 167 countries which are signatory to these, along with the European Union and others. Some of the countries have not signed it. Even the US is not a party to it. But then major nations which have the coastline, they have signed this treaty, and then it has become one of the most relevant and one of the most powerful treaty so far as the oceans are concerned. Next. Now, what are the objectives of the UNCLOS? The basic objective is to decide on the limits of the continental shelf to which a coastal state would be entitled if it establishes the natural prolongation of its landward continuity. Now, this requires a bit of explanation. As I said, each country has got its natural sovereignty over a land of 200 nautical miles beyond its land borders. But if it wants to claim another area beyond that natural prolongation, then what rules should be followed? That is, the UNCLOS has defined certain rules, certain articles, which a country, which a nation, if it wants to claim, it has to submit to those rules. This UNCLOS also promotes peaceful use of seas and oceans. It facilitates international communication. It is there to enable equitable and efficient utilization of ocean resources, not only among the coastal nations, also among the nations which do not have a coastline, as I said, the landlocked countries. It also wants to protect and preserve the marine environment and promote the marine safety. Next. Now, this is a subject which the geomorphologists will be most interested in. Here you see the three different sections which define the continental shelf and the area. By the area, we means the deep part of the ocean, which is beyond the continental shelf. Now, can you please click to again one? Can you please click again one more? One more click. One more. Yeah. Now here, if you see in the first slide, you can see some on the left-hand side, the topmost, you can see some of the hills, and then you see the green area, and then you see a grayish area. This grayish area is a continental shelf, or the area which also contains beaches, and it is attached to the border of a country. And then once you leave this shelf area, you suddenly get into a vertical scarp. Sometimes it is vertical scarp, sometimes it is not a vertical area, it is a sloping area. So then you have, in the geological terms, you have a continental shelf, then you have a slope, and then you have a rise, right? If you go to the second, on the right-hand side, cartoon, you will find that there is after the mountainous region, there's a slight gentle sloping ground, which is gray in color. This is the shelf. But then there is a fall in that section, and that is called the slope, where the continental shelf dips towards the deep ocean, and then you get a gradually, gradient towards the deep sea area, which is called as rise, till you reach the deeper portion of the sea, which is called as the area or the deep sea. This is the definition of from the geological point of view, from the geomorphological point of view. But once you come to the legal point of view, the entire area, starting from the coastline or the border of a country, right up to the area of the rise, is defined as the continental shelf in the legal terms. So when we interpret this legal shelf in the Commission on the Continental Shelf, we have to put together the geological or the morphological criteria, and we have to interpret these areas in terms of the legal definitions. So here in the bottommost, you see the first part of the sea is the territorial sea. The second part is a contiguous zone. Third is the exclusive economic zone, or the EEZ. And then we have the continental shelf beyond 200 nautical miles. My basic presentation is on this aspect, how a country can claim an area beyond its EEZ. That means, how can it claim another 150 nautical miles beyond 200 nautical miles? So it's a big question. And the major contribution of this is dependent upon the geomorphologist or the geologist. Only three types of the scientists can be the members or the commissioners in the United Nations Commission on the Continental Shelf. And the disciplines which are represented is geology, geophysics, and hydrography. It's a 21-member commission, and it has only geologists, geophysicists, and the hydrographers. And geology also, the geomorphology plays a major role. So that was my point of selecting this topic because most of the people here are young geomorphologists, so they should understand that they have a big role to help their countries. Next. Yeah, next. So here it gives you the different parts of the ocean, from the coast, you have the coastline and the beaches, and then you have a territorial sea, which extends for about 12 nautical miles. You can see the arrow and the second column, the second vertical column. Then there's another 12 nautical miles, which is called as contiguous zone, and it is beyond territorial sea, and it together with the territorial sea and the contiguous zone, it takes care of 24 nautical miles. That means from your border of the country, the 24 nautical mile is an area which is your own area, and it can be defined as the territorial sea or the contiguous sea. And beyond this territorial sea, an area of 200 nautical miles, as is defined in this area, in this slide, is called as EEZ. And beyond EEZ, it is the extension of the continental shelf. It is the slope of the rise in the geological term, and in the legal term, it is the extension of the continental shelf. And beyond that is the high sea. Next. Now you see how a satellite image will define these three areas. You can see this is a map of the Los Angeles in the United States. On the upper side, you can see the hills, and then you can see the beach area, and then you can see the shelf. That is the continental shelf. And then you have a very vertical scarp which defines the slope till you reach the deeper portion of the rise and the area or the deep sea areas. Next. This is a part of the Latin America, and this is Argentina. You can see this again is a satellite image, and you can see here the landmass of the country, Argentina. Then you can see the continental shelf, which is light blue in color. And if you concentrate, you can also find a vertical or a sloping area which is linked to the continental shelf. That is the slope area, and then you have a deep blue area which is the deeper portion of the sea or the ocean. And here it is this area, deeper ocean area, where if you can justify that the land, the geology of the land, it continues, it extends to the deeper portion of the ocean. Geologically, you can prove by seismic lines, by your geomagnetic lines, or by other surveys. Then possibly you can add a total area of 350 nautical miles to the sovereignty of your own country for various purposes. Next. Here we come to the Indian continent, and you can see over here that the picture of the continental shelf is different in the Arabian Sea and in the Bay of the Bengal. You can see in the Arabian Sea, the shelf is quite long. It is a longish longish area. Whereas when you come to the Bay of Bengal, the strip is very narrow. And then in the area which is very close to the Bangladesh, you find that there is a huge area of the shelf. That is because of the Bengal fan. As you all know, Bengal fan is one of the world's biggest deposit of the material which rivers Ganga and Brahmaputra bring from the Himalaya. And this fan is going on for last several thousands and millions of years. So this is the particular area where the geology and the geomorphology of the fan defines the rule of the sea. And this also gives some disputes because the countries like Bangladesh, the Myanmar also share the same geomorphological aspects. So it is not that this particular area is only for the India. The structure or the geomorphology of this area, Bay of the Bengal, the northern part of the Bay of the Bengal, is also having some control from Myanmar and Bangladesh. And if you go to the south from Sri Lankan side, also we have some area where the continental shelf is common or there is an overlap. So these areas, they call for a very, very detailed investigations of geology, of geophysics, and of geomorphology before you submit the claim to the United Nations Commission on the continental shelf. Next. Now here, I just defined the territorial sea and the contiguous zone, and what are the rights of a nation in the territorial sea and in the contiguous zone. The first one is 12 nautical miles, as I said, and another one, the contiguous zone, is another 12 nautical miles from where your territorial sea finishes. So if you read this, the breadth of the territorial sea up to a limit not exceeding 12 nautical miles measured from the baseline is the territorial sea of a country, and the states here are free to enact their own legislation. They can draw their own rules, their own regulations. The foreign flag, that means the ships which have the foreign flags or the foreign ships, they would have a right to innocent passage. That means if they are passing through that area, you can't stop them, but they can't have any criminal activity going on. So the criminal jurisdiction lies with the country of which the territorial sea is there. That means if a ship is going with the drugs or with the arms and ammunition, the country to which the territorial sea belongs can arrest those ships. And then in the next zone, that is the contiguous zone, it extends 12 nautical miles from beyond the territorial sea limit. It consists of the combination of revenue and public health or quarantine jurisdiction. So these are the two areas which give a special right to the countries to whom these areas belong. Next. Now, what is the advantage to the coastal nation? You see, what is the dilemma here? The EEZ, or the exclusive economic zone of a country, is the coastal states have sovereign rights within the 200 nautical miles limit adjacent to the seas. EEZ of the nations cover an area of about 60 million square kilometers. That means if you take all the countries who have a EEZ, legal EEZ, they can cover 60 million square kilometers of the sea. And that is to say that 150 coastal states have rights over about 20% of the ocean space. See, this is just a distribution of the ocean space. That means 20% of the ocean space is occupied by those nations, those 150 nations who have got an EEZ defined, attached to their own areas. The coastal states can claim another 150 nautical miles beyond 200 nautical miles under the Article 76 of the UNCLOS, or the United Nations Law of the Sea. And we will tell you how these additional 150 nautical miles can be claimed. India also has claimed. Our submission is already pending before the Commission of the Continental Shelf. And this claim, this would mean that another 75 million square kilometers, which is equal to more than half of the Earth's land surface, will be covered by those nations which put up a claim for the extended continental shelf. Next one. On the right-hand side slide, you can see the India's EEZ. It is divided in two parts. One is an area which is slightly shallow, up to 50 meters depth. The deeper blue area is an area which is deeper, which is 500 meters depth. And most of the areas has already been surveyed. Basically by the three different organizations of the country, the Geological Survey of India, the National Institute of Oceanography, and the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research. So together these three institutions have been given the task of mapping the entire EEZ of the area. And the area beyond the EEZ was mapped geophysically by the National Center for Antarctic and Ocean Research, and a claim was formed, and it has been submitted way back in 2000 and between 9 and 11 to the Commission. Now let's read about this. The sovereign rights on exploring and exploiting the living or the non-living resources of the waters superjacent to the seabed and of the seabed and its subsoil, including production of energy from the water, currents, and winds. This is the right that a coastal state has within the EEZ. 90% of the world's fisheries, 87% of the hydrocarbon reserves of the entire world, and most of the offshore mineral resources like PMN, nodules, your ferromagnetic minerals, your cobalt crust, your gas hydrates, they are all confined within this EEZ area. That's how the importance of the EEZ to the economy, or now what we call as the economy of a nation is there. Next. There are certain rights, jurisdiction and duties of the coastal states in its EEZ, and if you can go through this, it's a very short one. In exercising its rights and performing its duties under the Convention of the Exclusive Economic Zone, the coastal state shall have due regard to the rights and duties of the other states also. It's not that the entire everything belongs to you. You have to take into care the people, those who do not have a coastal areas, in such a manner that is compatible with the provisions of this convention. The convention already has put in some rules and regulations to benefit the entire mankind. That means the area beyond a certain limit is open to the entire mankind, and the resources, if you take out from the ocean, there has to be an equitable distribution among the entire population of the world. The rights set out in this article, that is Article 76, with respect to the seabed and the subsoil, have to be exercised in accordance with Part 6. And Part 6 of the convention says that whatever material you take out from the area beyond the continental shelf margin, that has to have an equitable distribution among the people. Next. Now, how do you claim that this three steps method, only? First of all, you have to justify your claim that, well, your continental shelf exceeds 200 nautical miles. For this, the state has to prove scientifically that it has a continental shelf which extends to the outer edge of the continental margin or to a distance of 200 nautical miles. So if you can prove that, then you are entitled for claiming the next area. Next one. Once the state has demonstrated that the natural prolongation of its submerged territory extends beyond 200 nautical miles from the baseline, then it is supposed to have passed a test. It's called test of appurtenance. So then you can go ahead and you can establish the outer limit. How do you establish that outer limit? I'll now come to that. Next. There are two methods. One is that you take into account the slope, the gradient of the slope of this. After the shelf, there is a slope, right? So the maximum gradient of the slope, you define certain points. These are called as foot of the slope points. And or if the foot of the slope is not very clear, then you take the scientific origin of that continental shelf. What you can see on the right hand side, you see here it's a volcanic margin, and you can see there are seaward dipping reflectors. You can see this profile very clearly. There are sloping beds of some sediments, and then at the base of that there are some dipping reflectors. Now these are reflectors which have come because of the volcanic eruptions under the sea. So this defines a margin of the continental and the ocean layers within the ocean. So if you're not able to define this, the base of the slope geomorphologically, then you have to take into account this technical ground defined by the geophysics, and you have to come to the point of the foot of the slope. Next. So once the foot of the slope is identified, then you have to count 60 nautical miles from the foot of the slope, or you have to take 1% sediment thickness and drop a point there. So those 2 points will define the limit of the continental margin. That will define the total area that you can claim from the Continental Commission. Next. But there are certain constraints. That means you can't go endlessly. So 350 nautical miles is the limit. Whatever is your foot of the slope, whatever is your extension of the sedimentary thickness, 350 nautical miles from the baseline is the limit. You can't go beyond that. Or 2,500 meter isobath plus 100 meters depth, you can go. So these are the two constraints up to which you can put a claim. Next. Well, these marine resources, all of you know, there are fisheries, there are non-living resources, grass sand, minerals, phosphates, hydrocarbons, mineral resources like PM nodules, primary hydrosulfides, cobalt crust. Next. If you see here the diagram of the shelf and the slope and the rise, you see there are several rigs, several companies are still going on for exploration of the oil. So there's no limit in the sea where up to which place you can go for exploration of the resources. This is a condition which is at present going on, and you can see that right from 1978 onwards till 2003, the data is up to 2003, several multinationals have put deep ocean drilling rigs to take out the hydrocarbons, to take out the resources, fuel resources. Next. We all know the mineral resources of the ocean: ferromagnetic nodules, cobalt-rich ferromanganese crust, seafloor massive sulfides. These gives the different compositions, like you can have copper, nickel, cobalt, manganese, Re. You can also have from the cobalt-rich crust, cobalt, copper, nickel, Re, and platinum also. And then the seafloor sulfide, you can again have lead, gold, silver, and common minerals like copper and zinc. So these are the three different most promising natural resources that people are still searching, and India is also in the line for exploration of these resources in our deep oceans. Next, that is why we are trying to claim certain areas within the EZ. Next, please. Within the EZ and also beyond EZ. So these are the nodules that they look like polymetallic nodules, which are basically manganese and iron nodules. They are cobalt-rich crust. And then there is a sulfide, chimney deposits. When the cold water of the sea, it enters the cracks in the mid-ocean ridges, it gets heated up. Then it assimilates most of the materials, most of the minerals from those vents, from the magma, and it is thrusted out, and then it precipitates all these minerals, all these metals onto the chimneys. They are called as chimney deposits or sulfide deposits. Next. So this is the distribution of another resource, which is called as gas hydrate. All of you know about that. Don't have to go to detail. Next. This is about the cobalt, this gas hydrate, the mid-ocean ridges and these cracks that I was telling you. How do these chimney deposits get formed? Next. India is in the game of investing in all these things. We are doing for polymetallic nodules. We are also got a pioneer investor status in 1987 by applying to the International Seabed Authority. These are all constituted under the UNCLOS. And under this provision, an area of 150,000 square kilometer in the central Indian Ocean has been allotted to us. And India is already exploring all these resources, conducting expeditions to define a resource of these deposits in the mid-ocean ridges. Next. Next. Yeah, but when we do that, we also have to take care of certain protocols, environmental protocols, because even if we go to the depth of 5,000 meters under the seawater, the life doesn't end there. There's plenty of life, as you can see from these few slides over here. Life is thriving there, even though the sunlight doesn't enter. But there are certain plants which can survive in the oxygen-free environment also. So if you want to take out certain minerals, you have to submit an environmental assessment report, and you have to confirm that you will not be destroying the environmental conditions of the ocean. Only then you will be given a permit to exploit all those things. And I think with this, I will be coming to my end of my presentation. Next. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
For delivering very highly valuable and informative lecture for our scholar. And you started from law of the sea and narrated about the role of geomorphology in coastal studies and highlighted many new points for our researchers, those who are working in the field of geography as well as in geography. And you have also discussed about the convention of the United Nations law of seas and mentioned about the articles, I think 320 articles and 9 in excerpt, and explain about the navigational rights, economic rights, and rights of landlocked nation, which is a very important topic. Those who are doing research as well as those who are doing preparation for competitive exam also. So many new things you have highlighted here and discussed about Truman Proclamation and also narrated about the establishment of conservation zones and protection of biological resources, and also highlighted about the 4 major conventions: Convention on High Seas and Territorial Zones, Continental Shelf, and lastly you have highlighted about EEZ and discussed about territorial zones and advantages of coastal nation, and particularly highlighted about the rights and jurisdiction and duties of coastal nation. Really, lecture was very informative and given about ocean deposit and precious stones, gems and minerals and all these things, and deep sea mining also. So on the behalf of IGI, on the behalf of 615 members of IGI, and on the behalf of the new generation of geography and geomorphologists, from the bottom of my heart, on the behalf of President IGI, Professor MILAP SHARMA, and those who have attended this event, I welcome you, and I'm highly thankful to you for delivering your lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Please proceed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful lecture on basically the law of seawater and actually what is the limit of a particular nation of under the sea rule. And your lecture description has already been given by Professor SIDDIQUI, sir. So now this discussion, it is open for the discussion. If anyone have query, let us inform.
Dr. Sudhir from Atmospheric and Oceanography Department, University of Allahabad.
Yeah, Dr. Sudhir is there.
Dr. Sudhir. Dr. RASIK, we have a very good department in University of Allahabad. You might be knowing Professor Avinash Chand Pandey ji. He is in Delhi, and Professor Sunit Dwivedi and Dr. Shailen Rai and Dr. Sudhir Kumar Singh. And many students are attending your program through YouTube channel, but they are not able to ask questions. But one of the most vibrant faculty of Department of K. Banerjee Institute of Atmospheric Science and Oceanography, Dr. Sudhir, please unmute.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you very much. Sir, your lecture was actually today I joined very late, so I saw only few slides. So, but those
okay, no problem. Recording is there, and I will forward you a YouTube link. And you can.
Actually, Dr. K. Banerjee Center of Atmospheric Sciences was very closely related to the NCPOR, and we had very good relations with them. And we were working together in the NCPOR and the K. Banerjee Center on several ice conditions of Antarctic also, and how does this ice condition, they impact the monsoons of India. So the combined studies with the K. Banerjee Center were going on way back in, I think, 2004 onwards. It's a very close.
We all are planning to invite you on physical mode. and to visit Prayagraj.
Most welcome, most welcome.
Holy rivers Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati.
Most
And
welcome.
I think we will make a plan, then we will be happy, and I think you will be in Department of Cave Energy as well as in Department of Geography, University of Allahabad.
My privilege, my privilege.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. So we have don't receive any query or any questions in chat box also. So we are almost at the end of our webinar, and if anyone has to say something, please welcome.
I think connectivity in Nagaland is very poor.
Yeah,
And
that is the
Mansi is
problem.
able to listen only. She is not able to speak. So on the behalf of convener of this YGF, I would like to request Dr. Sumantra, please.
Yeah.
Vote of thanks to our guest.
Yeah, sir, there is a question from Dr. Mansoor Alam Siddiqui in the chat box. What is the significance of law of sea in today's world when SLR causing concern?
What is causing concern?
When
Dr. Mansoor Alam from Aligarh Muslim University.
When SLR causing concern? SLR.
What is SLR?
Please, Dr. Mansoor, please.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone, sir. And I really feel so happy that all learned people are sitting here, and we get benefited also. My question is this: because of the climate change, we are noticing noticeable changes.
Sea level rise.
That is melting of ice also, and so much sea level rise also. So whatever the law is there, sea of law, that is 12 nautical mile, that is also fast changing. So my question is, do we have some change in the law as dictated by international bodies also?
See, Dr. Siddiqui, this 12 nautical mile is a horizontal distance from the baseline of a country. Now, if the baseline changes because of the sea level rise, then you have to redefine your limits of the territorial sea. And this law, it has a provision that in case your baseline has changed, you have to remap the area, and then you have to submit to the law of the sea, to the commission, that this is a refined baseline, and then your limits of the EEZ will change. But there's hardly any major changes in the baseline, because nowadays the baseline generally doesn't change. It depends upon the high tide and the low tide. So people take the average of the low tide and high tide, and then they compute by various projections the baseline of a country.
Sir, one thing more, this 12 nautical mile is not a permanent mark line for some of the few countries in Indian Ocean, like Singapore and like I think Qatar also, I think.
See, 12 nautical miles is a territorial sea, but these countries, they have very little EEZ, so they are very strict about the territorial sea. But because the free navigation is allowed, the right of the free navigation is there, so all these countries whose economics depends only on the navigation, they give a lot of liberties to the international people, But they have a right.
I think it's a very significant one, sir.
Yeah, it is significant.
Very significant.
Yes.
And it is also codifies territorial expansion of all the countries also.
Yeah, of course. That is why see, even the Arctic countries like your Canada, your Sweden, then Denmark, Norway, all these countries have a huge continental shelf, and all their continental shelf, it extends to the North Pole.
And some of the countries, sir, some of the countries are also doing politics also.
Of course, it is common.
The Pacific Ocean, now it is the in news in recent days also, and the territorial integrity of some of the countries like this Philippines and like North Korea and South Korea, they are also very concerned because of the so much of hegemony of Chinese territorial expansion. especially on the oceanic fronts?
See, Dr. Siddiqui, there are three departments of the UNCLOS. UNCLOS has got three arms. One is the Continental Shelf Commission, which defines the rules and which goes through the claims of the country. Second is called ICLOS, International Tribunal on Law of the Sea. And third is the International Seabed Authority. So these disputes that you are raising, say Philippines and in the South China Sea and Vietnam and others, all these countries approach ICLOS, International Tribunal on Law of the Sea, for mitigation of their disputes. So there is already a provision in the law of the sea. For example, India and Bangladesh, they also went to the ICLOS. There we had differences because what they claimed as their continental shelf, we also claimed our continental shelf. And even we have differences with Myanmar and Sri Lanka. So there is a proper mechanism. There is a body which is already defined under the UNCLOS to which you can address your grievances, and then they will hear both the sides and give a judgment. So these are already taken care of by the UNCLOS.
So very informative, sir. Very informative lecture. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. RASIK Ravindra. Hopefully, I am audible again, and please consider the network issues going on very regularly in Northeast India. And nowadays, because of some socio-political turmoil, we are having very, very poor network conditions. And for many days, we do not have any Wi-Fi conditions. Some of the even mobile phone connections are not operating nowadays here. So please consider my that means unavailability on time. And now I am giving the podium to Dr. Sumantra for vote of thanks.
Yeah. Good evening, all. It's almost the end of the webinar. So, on behalf of the IGI-YGF, I take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to the webinar on Blue Planet, Environmental Change, Vulnerability, and Geopolitics of Ocean, organized by IGI-YGF. And my sincere gratitude goes to the steering committee of IGI-YGF, the professors are the Professor Sunil Kumar De, Professor Sunanda Bandhavadhyay, Professor Sudhakar Pardeshi, Professor A.R. Siddiqui sir, and for their unwavering support in making this webinar a success. At this outset, I am grateful to the resource persons, Professor NIKI, EVELPIDOU, Dr. RASIK Ravindra, Dr. MALAY PRAMANIK. We are enlightened by their knowledge and their presence. We are thankful to our honorable guest, Professor MILAP Chand Sharma and Professor A.R. Siddiqui sir for their motivations. My special thanks goes to Dr. Sayantan Das, Dr. Shreya Bandhavadhyay, Dr. Kapil Ghosh, who were the former president of IGI-YGF, and they have given a lots of time from their busy schedule to be with us. I must acknowledge the research scholar who have hard work from the beginning of the preparing to banner to broadcastings. Those research scholars of Jawaharlal Nehru Universities, and they are Soumik Das, Shashi Shekhar Shukla, Joyce Mukherjee, and Chandan Malik. And the last but not least, our heartfelt thanks to our participants for their active participation. With these warm words and a kind message, we move to at the end of today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sumantra. As a president of YGF, I took opportunity, and thank you again, all of the guests and speakers for responding us, and we have got our confidence again to hold this kind of webinar to explore such kind of works in future too. So
thank you, Mansi, thank you, Dr. Sumantra Biswas.
Yes, sir. Sir, we hope that we will get in future also with yours.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
And Dr. RASIK already promised me to come to visit Prayagraj.
Sure. It will be my pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Fine. Thank you very much, sir.
Sir,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
we are expecting Rasik sir and everybody to be in Nagaland as well.
Yes, thank you.
But not right now.
Surely.
Surely, okay.
Dr. Adil, how are you?
Mansi, I'm good. Congratulations to both of you.
Yes, everything is going well. We have to be well and fit here.
आदिल पे क्या 12 डिग्री सेल्सियस में टहल रहे हैं, यहाँ पर जो है 49 डिग्री।
सर यहाँ पे 36 डिग्री चल रहा है आजकल।
Hello Manasi, hello Sumanta.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
सिद्दीकी सर, थोड़ा बहुत हेरिटेज फिल्म का भी बात कर ही लेते हैं. The second circular is going to be out by the 20th of this month. तो इसमें सारे रजिस्ट्रेशन वगैरह का भी दे देंगे. Professor Savindra Singh called me up the other day saying that